Hey, what's up, guys? What's up, Chad? Chris?
Hello.
What's up, brother?
How you doing?
What's up, GM?
Good morning.
How's it going, Chris? You there?
I am.
Grassroots?
Yes, I am. Chad, how you doing?
We can't hear you if you are
Oh,
talking.
I can hear
FYI.
him. You can't hear him? I can hear Chris.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, I can't hear him at all. Weird.
You have to relay the conversation.
Okay, I'm gonna leave and come back. Maybe it's just me.
Everyone else can hear him, right?
What's been happening?
Dude, all good stuff. It's been a while since we had you on. Sorry about all the timing. It's the worst possible time zone difference, but always good to talk with you, man.
You know what's really funny? I just left and came back, and when I came back, I heard myself say, "I'm gonna leave and come back."
Creepy. That was Brad Shatterford. I've been thinking about if I had way more time on my hands, I would make a Brad Shatterford parody account where I just shitpost Chad Barraford euphemisms.
I don't know what that would even look like because I don't know my own euphemisms are.
Neither do I, but I feel like I could do it, but it would cost way too much effort for me to figure this out.
We should spend the entire treasury investigating this.
Well, I know that the
Fast.
profile picture would be you in the Apple Vision Pro, like the avatar that appears when you wear the Apple Vision Pro. That would have to be it.
Okay. All right.
The uncanny valley chat.
That's hilarious. All right. You ready to go here?
Yeah, let's do it. What's new?
I think the thing that's pretty interesting is we hit like basically 11 billion last month in volume.
Ooh, we hit 11. I thought I didn't even realize we hit more than 10.
Yeah, I think it's like 10.95 or something like just shy of it or something like this.
Damn, that was pretty hype though. Yeah, hitting 10 billion for the first time. That's huge, dude.
Yeah, dude. We did more volume. I think we did more volume uh, in that month than the previous months combined for 2024.
Yeah, it's going to be a big year for swap volume. I really can't wait to see what the yearly volume is once we have like a full year of really high swap volumes, all these integrations, and just the market generally being up, and more people doing swaps, and obviously like a more usable product with streaming and everything.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this bull market's going to be, I think, an absolute banger of a bull market for the entire industry, not just THORChain, but for the entire industry. And I think the DEX world is going to explode. It's in general. I think we're all like the entire industry will probably explode, and you'll see a much higher volume passing through DEXs this year than any year previously.
One interesting thing I was seeing is like, okay, I don't actually know how true this is or not because I just see things on Twitter, but apparently, Coinbase allowing customers to buy assets on base, like so essentially being able to just not be an intermediary to their customers and just be like,
Mm,
yeah, well, you're a Coinbase customer, but then you could just basically use the dexes or whatever on base and get immediate access without actually having to, you know, do all the do all the extra steps that come with actually with being on chain and like all the different security things. Like you can just use your Coinbase account and then just basically do on chain things on
Mm,
base, which I think is like kind of crazy. Just being like
right.
like a new paradigm of like, hey, you're technically like a centralized exchange customer, but you're still doing things on chain, and maybe all your activities on chain still.
Yeah, I've actually heard like multiple sectors, both sectors say that they all see like dexes as the future, especially when it comes to the crypto trades. Obviously not fiat, but like I think every major dex, and I've heard multiple say it in different phrasings, but they all know that like the long term that they're going to lose their business on spot trading over time, and they need to find other methodologies of earning income as companies, as corporations. And maybe that's just like leverage, maybe that's like asset management, maybe it's who knows what. But
Yeah, stablecoin issuance.
stablecoin issuance is another good example. We'll see. But like spot trading is just not going to. There's nothing. There's no fruit to be for them to bear, and they're just going to lose that battle over time. Even as the volume of spot trading in general is going to hit like all-time highs, if every bull market pretty much. The volume that we're going to do as this protocol over the next like 10 years is going to be a ludicrous number.
Predictions.
I don't know if I can put an exact number on it. It's tough. Um, it's higher than people think it is. And the reason why I say that is because um, there's this concept in technology that's been around for a long time. It's even before crypto existed, but it's called the S curve of adoption. You can probably Google it if you want to, and find some articles written about it. But it's a tendency that in a technology, um, um, that there's like an adoption getting from like 0% to like, let's call it 13%, 12, 13%. Adoption takes a very long period of time. And then you go from 13% to 90% in an extremely short period of time. And then you go from 90% to like near 100% in a very long period of time. So it's just like it's very slow adoption in the beginning, and then hyper adoption, and then very slow the last 10 yards, so to speak. And we're like, I think we're very close. That's either going to be this bull market or the next. It's hard to tell which one, but we're going to see this massive adoption of crypto just in the regular space. Maybe not this bull market because the spot ETF just launched. It's going to take at least a year or two for TradFi to really kind of wrap their brains around the spot ETF, and then it's going to take a couple years for the rest of the market, the like retail market, to understand the space. So probably more likely to be next bull market than this one, in my opinion. But the next cycles are going to be massive cycles, and Bitcoin itself is going to become a very stable asset, not very volatile relative to other assets over the next couple markets, couple super cycles. So it's going to be a massive shift and change, I think, in the next 5 or 10 years we've never seen in the past.
I wonder how Bitcoin being a more stable asset plays out with THORChain, because obviously THORChain really likes volatility, and it likes that Bitcoin's is a volatile asset, and likes that the other assets that we support are volatile, and that therefore produces a lot of fees for the network because there's a lot of trading activity happening because there's so much volatility happening all the time. And our
Yeah,
biggest days are the volatile days where there's just a ton of a ton of price movement going on.
yeah, but isn't Bitcoin doesn't really matter that much in this particular scenario, just because Rune is still volatile. So as long as Rune is pumping or dumping, doesn't really matter the direction, it'll create a lot of trades naturally, I think.
Yes, I mean that is true. By definition, it would have to because as the price moves, and that means there is volume going through THORChain's pools.
Right. And when Rune pumps, all of the pools get trade volume versus when Bitcoin pumps, one of the pools gets trade volume.
Sure.
But
I was
there's
kind of
definitely a
curious to
pool.
hear grassroots Chris come up and give us an update on Asgard X because I feel like they've been shipping a ton of updates recently. But he dropped down. But if he wants to come back up and give us the lowdown about what's been happening with Asgard X, then I think that'd be pretty cool.
Funny thing is, like, if I were to say right now that we're going to see $1 billion in trade volume per day in like on THORChain, I don't think most of the audience would bat an eye. I think for a lot of people, they probably expect it in the relatively near future, right? Um, if I were to say we're going to do 10 billion per day, what percentage of our own community would, kick back on that versus, you know, agree? Yes or no's? Probably significantly higher, right? But if I were to say 50 billion, I think most people would say we're not going to hit 50 billion per day. But honestly, I think we will eventually. Maybe not this cycle, probably not, almost definitely not this cycle. But to do $50 billion in trade volume per day, to me, is inevitable. Just
Yeah,
because the market will expand to like crypto will expand as a market as whole. Like the market cap for just total crypto is going to blow up over the next 5 years, 10 years. And doing 50 billion a day is going to become typical.
yeah. I mean, even just a year ago, think about how much volume we were doing a day, and what was that? 10 million on a good day, like 15, 20 on a really heavy day. I mean, I think we hit some pretty big volumes during big volatility events like Terra Luna when we added those chains. There was just a ton of activity and people coming onto the network. But like other than that, and we're an order of magnitude above where we were before, even just a year ago in terms of swap volume.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But it's also kind of a hard comparison to make just because the lower your volume is, the easier it is to 2x it or 5x it or 10x it, right? 'Cause you're starting from a very low number to begin with.
Yep.
Like Chainflip, for example, is starting fresh. They don't really have that much volume right now, and you're going to see Chainflip's numbers, pumping in terms of volume over the next, 12 months, or whatever. And in part because it's easy to go from $2 a day in trade volume to $10 a day. Do you know what I mean? It's not that when you're starting small, the bigger you get, the harder it is to 2x, right? It takes a lot more effort, a lot more work, fundamental shifts and changes, so forth and so on. And we're getting like closer and closer to that level of like we're not going to 2x our volume just by like we have to do a lot of work to get there, you know, as a community.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Orion posted something earlier. It's about swap fees. I pinned it up in the comments, but we did just a chart showing how much fees are coming in on a weekly basis, and on a great looking chart, very up and to the right. Now over 1 million weekly in swap fees for the past month or so, and that's the KPI that a lot of us are paying attention the most to, just how much fees are coming into the network. Because even as volume increases, um, we can see there's always more work to be done in just gaining more fees, and that's really where the revenue comes in to LPs and nodes and to all the system stakeholders.
Sorry, I just got a call and my thing went off. Um, yeah, fee collection is like massively higher than it was before. I think we hit an all-time high, um, very recently. Well, 1.5 million or something like this, right?
Yep, looks like it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. 1.5 million in weekly fee collection.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's a huge amount.
Yeah, got to get all these fixed on DeFi Llama. We have some stats on there, and I'm looking at them, and they just do not match up with the internal metrics that I'm looking at. So, I really got to get this fixed. Because, I mean, just comparing on DeFi Llama, you're like, oh, okay, there's really not that much fees coming in. I think it's at 50K, 100K on a good day. but we're obviously collecting a lot more in fees than what's on some of these dashboards.
Yeah, it's kind of it's frustrating to keep those dashboards accurate, isn't it?
Yes. Especially because like we're so different than other protocols where it's like it's very easy to just have like some kind of monitor on a smart contract that's just like what's the balance here and look at how much fees go out of this account onto this. It's like it's a lot of bespoke work that needs to be done, and yeah, it's difficult keeping it all updated. Like especially, it's not even just DeFi Llama because there's like so many of these things, and a lot of sites don't even bother having any THORChain metrics because it's just more. It's a lot more complex to gather it, and yeah, DeFi Llama guys are very cool, but we still have to do all the work ourselves to actually get them the right data.
Oh, it's so much work, and like it's just so hard. It's like a pulling teeth, isn't it? It just, I don't know. It's frustrating. Well, we'll get updated eventually. I want to see the lending data updated because right now they have like 1/10 the amount of number they should have, something like this, right?
We'll get that updated. That was just a small mistake over there. I think they were looking at the Rune volume rather than the USD volume. So
Right. So
I think we already have a PR up to fix that.
Yeah. I was looking at it the other day, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like we are um, in like the top 10 lending protocols in the industry. Do I have that right?
It's a good question. I mean, let me look on DeFi Llama, assuming it's accurate for other protocols, which is part of the trick here.
I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. I got it wrong. It's once the caps are reached, which we're well on our way to get there, probably in the next couple of weeks or so. If you extrapolate that out, we are like basically in the top 10 largest DeFi lending protocols. I think I get that right, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I have too hard of a time figuring out exactly where to go to figure out who has the most TVL, but I think that's about right. We're at what 150 million right now in collateral, so I think we're at 75% of the caps. So that brings us to what 200 million, 250 million.
Yeah, we got another 25% to go or something like this. Yeah.
Hey, Chris, you there? Let's try this
Yep.
again.
Sorry about
There we go, man.
that.
Sweet.
Technology.
Dude, what's going on with Asgard X?
As you actually just put out a new release, lots of new functionality. We fixed a few issues in this one, and then a bit of a focus on bond tools. Obviously, AscadX is used by node operators, both in THORChain and in Maya land as well. So just adding some more tools to make things a bit simpler there. So just always an incremental thing on the functionality as well. Like we've got Maya support, so you can add your LPs, some LP recovery tools as well. Sometimes like in a symmetrical, sometimes one of the transactions didn't go through for whatever reason, which is particularly useful if you've got a ledger and it didn't go through. So some LP recovery tools, as well as just an enhanced flow, making things simpler, making things more accessible, and trying to overall improve the user experience on desktop. So that's it for AscadX.
Sweet. Any what else? Anything interesting that you guys are working on, just in terms of this, like in the future for Asgard X, like lending or just any like what's kind of your guys like roadmap or I don't really know. I haven't really been keeping up that much with like your guys' future plans or what it is, what the goal is, and like where the end state is. Not that there's ever really an end state, but where's the development headed in for you guys? Yep, he dropped off. Twitter Spaces, everybody.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh, there
There
we
he
go.
is, back.
Sweet.
Yeah, I was like saying, what's the end state for THORChain? It just we never get there, but it's good. Um, yeah, we want to enhance um, a lot of the ledger functionality. I mean, it's there, but it could be better. So that's going to be some refactoring in the back end. Then add keep key support where we can. So we've got some key keys to do some development work for there, and then add lending, obviously. So that'll be a big update. Just trying to make sure we've got everything in place first, and then continue down some more enhanced bond tools and stuff for node operators. So we're kind of rounding out the experience. It's not just for normal users to do their swap, save, and lend. They can. We've also got the node operators covered. So it's a one-stop shop for whatever you might need, regardless of whether you're a new person using this as a crypto wallet, or you're an experienced node operator doing more advanced things. So it's kind of like the idea that we have. And then again, I like the idea of it being used on desktop, because it's much easier than trying to do stuff on your mobile. I think there's a place for that, but that's my preferences. We can have something really good for desktop. So when you're at home doing your stuff, you've got
Lost him again.
Yeah, I can't hear him anymore either.
wow, the internet in
Oh.
Australia.
All right, you're back. You're back.
So where did I get up to?
Just about when
I lost
the
track.
internet went off.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure what's wrong. Yeah, well, that's it for AsCadex. Just looking to improve, get lending, get enhanced hardware wallet support, as well as just overall better experience for a desktop. And then that's something we're going to be continue working on and just continually pushing out releases regularly when we can.
Sweet, cool, man. Thanks for the update. Oleg, what's up, man?
Hey guys, if it's a good time, I pinged you, Cow, and you said hop on. I wanted to bring something to everyone's attention. I already sent a DM to chat about that regarding what I would call a THORChain L2. I think it would address many, not problems, but it would be a great solution to many things that are happening or lacking in the protocol. So I'll just quickly read what I sent Chad a few months back to get the TLDR. So basically, I told him, hey, I've been thinking a lot lately about a concept that approximates to a THORChain L2. The very short summary is to provide a more flexible execution layer for THORChain without going fully centralized. My general idea is to follow similar principles of Tor node. So basically, people would bond Rune or another synthetic assets, maybe not synthetic, but bond Rune. Basically, you have a TSS like multi-sig over the custody of some assets, and then you can do updates to add more features. So I'll go into specifics to kind of give a better illustration of what I mean, and then I'll just quickly summarize how I think it provides a good participation opportunity for multiple ecosystem participants. So say I want to do time locks. I want to do a casino, but using Bitcoin. Like, I feel like THORChain has all the infrastructure and all the primitives, like synthetic assets, liquidity, security, um, but there's no way for us to do kind of more advanced stuff or custom stuff. So I think by having some sort of THORChain layer two, where people could bond their own Rune to backstop or to provide economic security for a specific feature that could live or that could be executed on that THORChain L2, and then that just enables more features. So stuff like building a casino on top of THORChain that could pay out real Bitcoin. So basically, you mint some synths or some trade assets, and you do your gambling on the platform, and then you want to cash out, and you get real Bitcoin. Another example, I have twitchy fingers. I just want to make sure I can send my Bitcoin to an address that is controlled by an economically secured multisig, and I want it back in 6 months or in 1 year. And I can even pay a small fee for doing so. But that prevents me from having custody of my own assets. There are just a couple examples, and especially if we add tokenized LP, then I feel like we can do indexes of coins where you invest into that index, and it can be like a basket of 25% Bitcoin, some Torch, throw some Rune in there. You can add Flip, Maya, Cacao, just like a bunch of assets if they're connected to THORChain easily. And I just feel like this THORChain L2 could be a great opportunity to add a lot more features, generate a ton more volume and fees on THORChain, and also provide a way for people to stake their Rune, potentially earn a yield without the protocol having to take this additional risk by itself.
But who's building all this?
Well, anyone, I guess the community should be doing it. But I just sent you a few questions of like, how do you think that would be structured? Do you think it's just even possible to achieve economic security? So I don't think anyone is building this right now, but do you think as a THORChain core contributor that this can be built, this can be safe for everyone, and that it's possible to build it in a way where it's useful and decentralized enough?
Uh, could somebody build something like this? Sure. It would. I mean, it wouldn't be an L2 though. It would probably be its own chain. And it may use THORChain liquidity in some cases and scenarios. But if you want to maintain economic security, then you can't. All the liquidity has to be in the pools. Which case, then you can't like store people's Bitcoin for 6 months or a year, or whatever. It just becomes you need something closer to like trade assets, which is not something that generally maintains economic security, especially in the case that you're talking about where people are just arbitrarily just storing assets for a long period of time on some social signature system. If you forget about economic security and not really care about that part, then it becomes a lot easier to build for sure. But I'm not sure where THORChain comes in on it, other than just providing liquidity for swaps.
So the principle of that's actually my first question: how to achieve economic security in such a system. And I asked you if a multi-sig is enough, or does it need its own consensus and its own blockchain, basically independent of THORChain?
You cannot have a multi-sig and economic security. Those two things are polar opposites.
All
Whenever
right,
you have
well,
multi-sig, you have some sort of trusted federation, which inherently means you do not have economic security.
and what if that rune can be bonded in a special THORChain module that allows for rules similar to the current node operators?
Node operators are fine just economic security because it's native assets that's being bonded, whatever. But when you're talking about layer one Bitcoin, exonerable capital, then you lose economic security unless you put it all in a pool. I mean, you could actually take the idea of cold vaults. You take the idea of cold vaults, what we talked about in the community during the bear market. That would be a methodology of achieving economic security without putting assets into a pool. To my knowledge, those are the only two methodologies of achieving economic security. At least that's my initial thought.
All right. Well, thanks for this clarity. And if anyone has any suggestions, I'll be reading the comments if they think this should be built or if they think THORChain is a prime opportunity, because I don't see many ways or many other ways to have specific features that are common into DeFi world, but that could also pay out real native BTC. I would just like to see how it's possible to achieve a protocol feature or just something that can leverage that while generating fees for THORChain.
Yeah. I mean, are you familiar with what's it called? Satoshi Dice?
Only by name. I mean, I never used it, but I know what it is. Yeah.
I don't think it exists anymore. It's something that Eric Voorhees had built, and I think he sold it back in like I want to say 2013 or something like this. But it was trying to do, in some ways, similar accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. And a lot of people build a casino. with layer one Bitcoin, and we can win some Bitcoin by making some gambling bets or whatever. But that's like super old, you know, tech from a decade ago. But there are ways to achieve, I think, some aspects of what you're doing. If you want to throw it as like a layer two on top of THORChain, you could, but the assets would probably not sit in. You probably would not. The layer two itself would probably not hold any exogenous capital, I would assume.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the layer two is just the execution layer, but it doesn't hold any assets, but then it can do payouts. So it needs to have some sort of economic security to guarantee that the validators of that L2 don't act maliciously. But I don't know, it's a dream of mine to say we have a poker table where you and I can play poker, but like the winner gets we bond in or we put in BTC stake, and we don't have to do Bitcoin transactions for each hand, and we have this sort of execution layer, and the winner can cash out real BTC. It just sounds like a dream come true.
Yeah, but that scenario, like, who cares what the BDC side of things? If you're just in there to play some poker and win $100 playing poker tonight with a bunch of friends or random people on the Anon space, who cares with the BDC element to it? Just do it with Tor, right? Do it with stablecoin, USDC, doesn't really matter. You gamble, all night playing poker with your friends or whomever. You win $100, and then you exit via Bitcoin into a swap. So if we did like IBC, for example, and we enabled Tor as an asset, a general purpose asset, then you can just use that as the primary asset of your layer two, right? So you beam Tor, you buy Tor via Bitcoin on THORChain, and then you beam it across IBC to your Cosmos IBC slash layer two, if you want to call it that. Do your gambling, play the roulette table, play some top five card stud or Texas Hold'em, whatever you're trying to do, and then when you're done, go ahead and exit. Which conceptually, like perpetuals for us, is a little bit similar to this. Like perpetuals will likely be you use Tor as your collateral, and then either long or short BDC or ETH or whatever asset you want long or short, and then when you're done, you exit via swap from your Tor to Bitcoin or Ether or whatever the things you want to receive on the outbound.
All right, makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time, and I'll continue reflecting on that. I'm sure there's a use case that's
Yeah,
unique.
I don't think you need to worry about economic security that much. You just need to worry about having like a layer two chain that has access to THORChain liquidity, specifically its native assets, not its external assets. And Tor probably the best, or Rune, one of the two would work. And then, yeah.
Not only that, but I thought about this a little bit with liquidity. So, like, basically, say you were able to export liquidity units from the pool, being able, like, someone could make a lending protocol against LP units, for example, and you could use LP as collateral, or as basically some kind of unit of account on this smart contract layer where an app can do something with liquidity units, so they can essentially build things on top of it and make liquidity more sticky by just making it liquid, completely liquid, and just being able to just trade LP units without actually having to withdraw. And things like that, where we can build just on top of the primitives that we have on THORChain without necessarily changing the core like base layer.
I put out a tweet yesterday that I think people will be interested to read. I pinned it at the top here. People want to check it out. But it's just like I wanted to write a thread about all the different like things I commonly hear about lending that the FUDsters talk about, or at least when they first hear about it, they always make some sort of claim or negative statement that the whole thing doesn't work or whatever the hell it is. And so I figured I'd just like write a thread on one tweet per concept, just to create the kind of a link that people that our community can use to like reply to these FUDsters when they say, "Oh, what if there's a bank run? And what if Bitcoin overperforms Rune? And what if this happens? And what if this happens? And blah blah blah." blah, 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 whatever it is. And so hopefully this will kind of just make it easier for people to like respond to it, to that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah, great thread for sure. You went pretty in depth there. I definitely gotta save that one in the bookmarks. Has
All
there
right.
been any response from people who have had criticisms and you sent this to them, or I guess you just put it out yesterday, but
Yeah, I had some responses. The two that I was like looking to reply more to it was one from Adam Beck, who, if you don't know who that is, he's an OG kind of a Bitcoin OG guy. He's one of the guys that invented proof of work. But back then wasn't proof of work in terms of the context of Bitcoin. Back then it was Hashcash, which was the idea of using proof of work, the concept of proof of work for like emails to reduce spam. So you could like validate within the header of an email if this email was spam or not, because they did some work to prove that it's not, right? Which is a really cool idea. Um, Anyways, he's a Bitcoin, strong advocate for, and he's kind of an not really a fan of lending. And so there's some things I wanted to respond to his like concerns, but his concerns actually not relating to like lending itself. His concerns are really around like any place you put your Bitcoin that's not your cold storage is not worth the risk. Like that's his general mentality, whether it's lending or yield, whether it's CeFi, DeFi, like anything that's just not your personal cold wallet is just not worth the risk.
yeah, which is a fair enough criticism for someone who probably has like a lot of Bitcoin that does not really want to risk it in any kind of scenario, or has no need to really sell or really to do much with it besides just hold it.
And the other person I wanted to respond to was TBR. TBR had a specific scenario that he wanted to address about the flight of liquidity from the protocol. And I'm talking to him on DM first just to make sure I understand his scenario that he would like me to talk about or address or comment on, just to make sure I answer his question as fully as I can. So I need to understand his scenario as fully as I can. So I'm working on that as well. But um, those are the two primary things I've been wanting to respond to. But overall, I think I've gotten positive reactions from most people, I'd say.
Got a couple people requesting to speak. Cipher Cat. Hey.
Hey, I was just gonna say, a lot of the BCH people in the Bitcoin Cash space, we love what you're doing. See the APR, the ability to loan, borrow some Bitcoin Cash. That's fantastic. Just kind of helps with the use case, and kind of like what you guys are saying. It's like it's about freedom as much as it is about security. So, of course, self custody, your main bag, but like if you're out here in the DeFi, you got to be able to take a little bit of risk with a bag that you're comfortable that you can afford to lose, right? But yeah, like I was just wondering, like, are you guys ever thinking about possibly like because I would love to take like loans against BCH, if that's ever possible.
Yes, it's definitely possible. And the nodes could vote right now and enable it. It's actually, it's quite straightforward and simple. The question is whether or not the community wants it. And that's been a kind of a debated topic. I know some people, some feel like industry or in our community are for it and some are against it. My personal standing is that if it's a primary asset, meaning a gas asset for whatever chain we're talking about, then I say we just go ahead and enable it. So I'd like to see that one enabled personally, but others are cautious about tokens that are more volatile, like BCH relative to Bitcoin or Ether, and the risks that may have towards the protocol. I actually think those actually come with less risk personally, but that's just my viewpoint. I would love to see more things enabled, just so we can collect more data and that kind of stuff. But as of right now, there's just not that much drive or interest to add more tokens.
Okay, well that's fantastic to hear. So we just need to be a lot more on the ball, kind of just get our voices heard and all that kind of stuff. But that's fantastic. I just want to say I love what you guys are doing. I think you're really innovating with the DeFi space, and you're bringing utility to my absolute favorite peer-to-peer cash solution. So that's kind of it's something that it doesn't go unnoticed. And I know it's kind of hard in the Web3 space. Everyone's kind of working with breadcrumbs here. We're trying to get by, but it's this is really, really cool to see. So yeah, keep up the great work, and feel free to drop me down if you need someone else to come talk.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, Bitcoin Cash is one of the deeper pools on THORChain right now. I'm looking at the liquidity. It's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in liquidity in all the pools actually, which is pretty cool to see. It's got 22 million in liquidity above BNB and AVAX. So it's actually just below. It's the fifth asset now below the big four, which we see most of the trading volume on: Bitcoin, Ether, Tether, and USDC.
Anything else? Who wants to talk?
Yeah, hi Nation, Renko, what's up?
Hi guys. Pretty much chat covered a lot of important topics regarding where lands can be deemed as a scam, but chat made it awesome with answers. But still, I'm trying to think of scenario where social engineering, for example, can affect the Rune and THORChain network, because at this point that's the only option I'm thinking of, how this project can fail. And I'm interested, how it can be possible.
How it can fail?
I mean, you covered in your thread, you covered some topics, how it differs from Celsius, how it's different from other lending protocols and systems. So the only reason how it can fail, as in any other project existing, it's social engineering, where some person is starting to communicating to another valuable person in the project, which holds some rights to vote on something or something around it. And I'm thinking of better. If you got my question correctly, you can answer now. But if you didn't get it right, I can try to repeat it again.
Cow, did you get that? 'Cause I'm not sure if I understood it.
I think he's just trying to better understand how a coordinated FUD scenario could impact the lending protocol. Like someone saying hey, this thing is going to collapse. Basically how a very vocal person could affect the dynamics of lending.
I think it's not more about the local person, but I think some of you heard about the story from XZ and a library from the Linux kernel, and how social engineering almost affected 80% of all web services around the world, and how it ended good. So from this perspective, I understand what are the weak sides of Lens, or of THORChain, when it comes to some key persons in project that are controlling the system in any form of way.
Do you understand, Chad? Basically, how the code is controlled, and how what kind of protections there are in place to make sure there aren't some kind of backdoor attacks and adoption of malicious code that could potentially affect the THORChain code base. I'm sure you saw all the XD stuff, which is super interesting, by the way.
That stuff is interesting. I mean, in our case, we haven't updated the dependencies of that we utilize are quite static. It's very rare we actually update those dependencies. And when we do, we have a dedicated security team that does some due diligence when we do look at those things. But generally speaking, we don't update them very often, to be honest, unless it's really like a dedicated need to do so. We're still using like a very old version of Cosmos, to be honest, like from years ago, just because it doesn't really warrant any time or effort to do so. But we have a dedicated security team that does this, and to ensure that any kind of dependencies we pull in are that are legitimate.
Okay, got it. Also,
Yeah, also the team is very like proactive about these types of things and always thinking about like these types of attacks and scenarios, and like they're extremely defensive around these types of things. Like, and I'm pretty sure node operators are also on the same page where they should be verifying the keys of the builders of any Thor node version, and checking Discord for updates and anything that's suspicious. Like, obviously, like a node operator should not update, and it requires 100% adoption for a major new Thor node version. So that would basically require every single Thor node operator to kind of be asleep at the wheel and just updating without actually checking or verifying any of the code or any of the updates that are put in. And obviously, there's like a lot of updates that are put in, but if we're in any given release, there's tons of new changes. But it's definitely the job of the node operators that as a last resort to be defensive. And on the front end of that, it's the security team's job to be checking dependencies and all the weird things that I definitely don't understand, but doing all the security work. They're super good about this.
Yeah.
And second question. So, since THORChain is based on Cosmos SDK, which is, I mean, like some form of modified version of Cosmos SDK, will THORChain or do THORChain have some plans or already existing implications of some new features of Cosmos SDK, like interchain security, parallel security, and some form of what is called? Let me remember it. It's some form of Cosmos contracts and so on.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the vast majority of like the newer features within Cosmos are quite silly, to be honest with you. Like, most of them don't make any fucking sense at all, to be honest. Cosmosm makes some sense, and it can actually be really useful, but most of those things are just nonsensical ideology, I would say. We would not get any benefit from those systems. We are very much like our own chain that operates on itself, and I prefer it that way just because I hate the idea of having dependencies on external things. It just structurally adds a lot of risk and surface attack and all those kind of things. So I don't think we would use any of those things. We wouldn't really get that much benefit, and it would just add significant amount of risk into the protocol. So I'm all for updating Cosmos SDK in general because there could be some performance improvements and stability improvements and that kind of stuff. But as for those newer Cosmos features, most of it doesn't really make sense.
That's pretty much a straightforward and fair answer. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, thanks, guys. I wanted to ask about about the lending protocol. That is there any plan or option for using the RepDETH on layer 2s to avoid the high Ethereum fees for small users like me? And the second question I want to ask is that I've used that Tor wallet a few times, and the fees are like 0.8%. I think pretty high. My number may be incorrect. I haven't used for a while. And that kind of pushes me towards using the cents because their fees are not that high. So, is there any plan to have the reduced fees for the swaps if someone wants to use the mobile app or wallet like these? That's it.
Yeah, sure. So, Chad had to step away, so let me answer your question. I didn't get the second part, so let me answer the first part, and then I'll ask you to restate the second question again. So the first question is whether we would use something like ETH layer 2s for lending, and unfortunately, that's not really possible without introducing additional layers to THORChain. So every single chain is treated completely separately. So it would we could add ETH layer 2s, which we don't have any right now. That certainly could happen, but it would be its own chain on THORChain, while ETH mainnet is also its own chain. So say we were to add like Base or Arbitrum or something like that onto THORChain, it would be a totally separate chain than mainnet ETH. So it's not really possible to abstract away the connection between like the layer 1 and the layer 2 there. That's why we do everything on mainnet, and fees are higher, but also that we have to pay on-chain L1 settlement fees in order to have the best security and settlement assurances. So gas fees are high, but that's just the way that it is interacting on L1 chain. Same with Bitcoin or anything else. And sorry,
Yeah.
could you repeat your
Yeah.
second question?
The second question, thanks, Ray. Second question was the high fees on the THORChain wallets, which is like pretty high in compared to if I were to just move my tokens to SEX and then do a swap there and then move back on the chain I want to. How can we tackle that? If I don't want to, let's say, connect all my wallets, just want to do something on mobile. Let's say if currently I use Binance on mobile and do the swaps pretty easy,
Yeah.
straightforward.
What swaps are you trying to do? Just as an example, like are you trying to move certain chains?
Yeah, if the swaps on the certain chains, let's say if I want to buy USDC from Rune or Rune to USDC, something like that.
Yeah. Well, in that
There's
case, if you're doing
a flat
USDC
fee.
on mainnet ETH, you're always paying the mainnet ETH fees. You could do there's also USDC on Binance Smart Chain, so you can pay less gas fees in that way. You still have to pay slip fees either way, because those are just trading fees on the protocol. But you could try trading on a cheaper chain. Like each chain just has its own costs, and obviously ETH is very expensive. And we have fixes on the way to make those chains even cheaper. I guess I could talk about that for a quick second about how that's going to happen. So right now, THORChain actually treats each ERC20 asset the same in the amount that it costs to send, but actually not every single ERC20 asset costs the same to transfer. Like Aave, for example, takes a lot more gas than USDC to send. So there's going to be a change in the next version or two that will separate it by token rather than just by chain. So it should make things like USDC transfers cheaper overall, instead of subsidizing on some, and it'll make it overall a better experience swapping on the most utilized assets being USDC and USDT. But to answer your question specifically, I would try trading on a cheaper network like AVAX or Binance Smart Chain.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. But I think I didn't quite convey my question. So I'll take an example that if I want to swap something on Thor wallet, there's a flat fee of 0.8%, 7%, whatever. That's one fee. Second is obviously the spread, the slippage, and the third is the layer, whatever network I'm wanting to swap. That fee. Let's say if I'm swapping on Ethereum, then there'll be a transaction cost on Ethereum. So three level of fees are there. That's that's not cheap. I mean, that's what I would say. So I prefer now at the moment to go to the centralized exchange and then do it there. However, I would love to do it from the self custody wallets.
Yeah, and I would think that most of those fees are from the wallet itself, and not from THORChain. Especially if you're swapping in small size, then the gas fee. I mean, gas fee is kind of static, but the liquidity fee would probably be very low. So really, I would think that most of that would be just the interface fee. So you could try different interface. There's no shortage of interfaces like Shapeshift, for example. I think they do $1,000, like free under $1,000 when you swap. And there's other mobile interfaces too. You could check them all out in THORChain's bio here. There's a huge link of mobile interfaces you could try that have different fees. Some no fees. There's no shortage of different interfaces building, and each of which charge their own fees.
Yeah, sounds good. No, thanks. Appreciate it.
Hey, can you hear me, Kev?
Yep. What's up?
On the PC now, much stabler. Asgard in the latest release is just like Shapeshift now, so free for $100,000, $1,001. That's another change we did. It's the affiliate fee that was doing us, because if it's too small, it errors out.
Right. So, yeah. So you make it free under $1,000. So yeah, that's really nice. It's on desktop though. There is something that's really nice about being able to just swap on mobile that I just it's just super convenient to do. But
yeah, if you want to go, sure. Looks like Chad's not going to be able to make it.
Yeah. Let's get one last question from top this, or whatever discussion point you got. Top this, you there? Or anyone else that would like to come up and say their piece?
I can ask a question if it's possible.
Yeah, go for it.
So, based on your link on your Twitter, there are 3 projects that are building on THORChain right now. It's Lens, THORSwap, and Shapeshift, from what I understand.
Those are lending interfaces. There's a lot more swap interfaces out there, but yeah.
Yeah. So in this case, do in your mind, do you have some sort of project that can be launched on THORChain in future that is, how to say, fulfilling other needs than from lending and borrowing? Like, do you have maybe thinking of a pet project that can be run on THORChain, not only for lending and borrowing?
Well, most interfaces on THORChain do swaps, and some of them do lending and borrowing. So the core feature of THORChain is doing swaps. So most interfaces do swaps, and then a couple of them have expanded into lending and borrowing over the past couple months. But I mean, in general, like THORChain's a pretty specific purpose chain where its purpose is just liquidity. So that's swaps, savers, and borrowing / lending. So those are really the 3 core features, and it's different wallets. They offer those in different ways, and they offer products that are off of THORChain and on THORChain. Each one kind of does their own thing. We just build an infrastructure that powers the exchange.
I mean that when you're running a project that has so much attention and valuation like THORChain, you sometimes see that people trying to add value to this project with a way that you can't even understand how it works, but it works, and like in some of unexpected way. And I was thinking, like, if there are people who are building this stuff, or are people that thinking of this stuff, or like maybe you have some thoughts about it. I fully understand that this is specific chain, but still, like.
Yeah, I mean, all the interfaces are building their own thing and building unique products that are not only THORChain. Like THORSwap, they really have a great aggregator that expands to a lot of different dexes that are not just THORChain. So you can get onto a lot of different chains and get long tail liquidity and and their main product is exporting their SDK, which makes it very easy to swap through a lot of different assets that are not just THORChain supported. Thor Wallet has really cool things like banking connections. They're very connected to the EU banking system, and things like a credit card. Shapeshift has their own totally different stack, which is like a desktop experience, mobile. They're very they're very different too. And then there's like everyone's kind of going in their own direction and like branching out into their own different ways. So I would definitely check out all the different interfaces because there's so many of them. Those are some of the biggest ones. There's Trust Wallet, who does, I mean, they're just a major wallet that does their own thing completely, but then still offers some of THORChain stack like swaps under the hood. So there's a lot of different things to check out. So I would encourage you to just go through the interfaces and just like see what kind of features there are on each one, and see what's right for you and what you like. I'm sure everyone has their own preference on which swap interfaces they like to use, or to LP on or to do savers or whatever. Hope that helps a bit. Roger.
Yes. Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Hey there. Thank you. Okay, so I have two questions, please. Forget the term, or excuse me, forgive me for wrong terminology usage. I'm relatively new to I guess this like very broad subject, but I'm trying to learn quickly. I have an amount of money in two accounts in Coinbase, which is the platform I initially used for trading, buying crypto, Bitcoin. And I want to transfer an amount to THORChain. I attempted this already, but the fee to transfer came up into the many tens of thousands of dollars to transfer. I tried finding out how to transfer the money to THORChain without, or at least with like significantly lower fees, but I haven't been successful yet. Do you have specific instructions on that?
Yeah, by transfer to THORChain, do you mean buy Rune or to enter an LP position, or like what exactly do you mean transfer to THORChain?
Okay. Yes. Good point. I wanted to buy Rune, and I can't buy Rune from Coinbase. So my thought was to transfer to either Edge or THORChain in order to do that.
Got it. So the easiest way to do it is basically what you're doing and just making a swap on any interface. So the best thing that I would recommend to do is to buy either Bitcoin, USDT, or USDC on Coinbase, transfer it to a self-custody wallet, and then try out one of the THORChain interfaces and see which one works best for you. There's AsgardX, who's a great open source desktop app. There's THORSwap. There's Shapeshift. There's a ton of different mobile apps too. There's literally dozens of interfaces that you could use, each of which has its own base protocol fee, which is just paid to THORChain, and then some of them have their own fee. Most of them have their own fee that's on top. So if you you want to just like go through and see which one has the fee model that works best with you, and which has the wallet support that you like. Like if you use a ledger, I would make sure that the interface you're using has a ledger support, which a lot of them do nowadays. Or whatever kind of assurances that you want, just go through the interfaces and check. If you're buying Rune with Bitcoin, the liquidity fees should be very low, because it's easily the most liquid pool on THORChain. And with streaming swaps, there really shouldn't be much slippage.
Can you put that into a percentage? What should I expect?
Yeah, let me go on THORSwap right now and see what a fee is. Let's say, let me see. So like for THORSwap, for example, because a lot of people do like to use THORSwap, if you're swapping 1 Bitcoin into Rune right now, the total fee, including the fee to THORSwap, is around $200. So that's, how much is that? It's a 30 basis point fee to THORSwap, and then I'm sure that it's probably around 5 basis points to THORChain itself, plus gas fees. So I would think it's somewhere around 35 to 40 basis points for a swap. And it really shouldn't matter what your size is.
So you're
streaming
saying
swaps, the liquidity fee should be around 5 basis points.
5, as in like 5%?
0.05%.
Points 0.5%. Yeah, 0.05%. Okay. Is there a way to reduce that?
By breaking up your trade into smaller pieces, but that's already done for you with streaming swaps.
Actually, no, that would be okay. I'd be okay with 0.05%.
Yeah, 0.05% as in 1/20th of a percent. And then on top of that being any exchange fee that's done by the interface. So, somewhere around less than 0.5%, I would expect, between exchanging from Bitcoin at really any size. Like you could probably do up, over $1 million worth of Bitcoin for somewhere around 0.5%.
Okay, and that's and that is to swap another crypto, BTC, etc., to Rune.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, and then I guess my other option would be to just deposit new money directly into THORChain. Correct? That is an option from my bank account, for example.
Well, you can't deposit directly into THORChain from a bank account. You need to, if you want Rune, you have to swap another type of native asset into Rune. So that's buying Bitcoin or USDC on chain and then doing a swap on a DEX to get Rune. Or there's centralized exchanges that support Rune as well. But honestly, I think the best way to hold Rune is buying it on the canonical exchange, which is the network itself.
Buying directly on the exchange.
Yeah, like using any of the self custody wallets that I mentioned before: THORSwap, Shapeshift, AsgardX, Thor Wallet, Trust Wallet. There's a lot of them.
Okay, but again, would you still call that a swap?
Yep. Yeah, it's all because it's all on chain. Like there's no THORChain is just crypto infrastructure. There's really no connection to there's no way to move from a bank right onto THORChain, right?
Okay.
It's all just crypto infrastructure of I have Bitcoin, I want Rune.
Very good. And is US dollar coin qualify?
Yeah, sure. That's the second most liquid pool on THORChain, so that's a great asset to swap into Rune or whatever else.
So I can move from my bank to US dollar coin and then swap into THORChain.
Yep, exactly.
Perfect. Okay, great. And I don't want to take up too much time. My last question, this is a simpler one, I think, is I do have an iPhones, and I, initially started, buying, selling, trading via my iPhone, but then I moved it to my desktop for Coinbase. Does THORChain can I access THORChain via my desktop PC also?
Yeah, check out AsgardX. It's a great open source desktop app that has a wallet built in. There's THORSwap. You can get that right in your browser. Shapeshift. Pretty much any of these like interfaces that I mentioned, they're all available on desktop, and a lot of them are available on mobile as well. So, and you can use one and then decide you don't like it, and then say I'm gonna just use another one. You just move your wallet over to wherever else, or use your same wallet in a different exchange. It's all very interoperable because it's all on chain. You can say like I didn't really like that swap experience last time. Let me try a different one, and then just move over extremely easily.
Will do. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep, no worries. I think Patriot Sound sent you some links just to some resources and things like that. Also, like THORChain University here, who I'm bringing up right now, they have a lot of great resources in Discord and people that help just explain how to do things to people. If you have questions, you can always go to THORChain University and ask them.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Thanks. And did you say that somebody forwarded me some information, some links?
I believe so.
Okay, that would be great. I guess where will I find that?
Good question. I didn't send them to you, so check your DMs maybe from Patriot Sounds.
Okay, I'll look.
He's in the audience over here.
Alrighty. Okay. Thanks again, guys.
Cool. Thanks, man. All right, let's do one last question.
I just add I've made a self custody wallets and self custody video, so that'll help you understand if you need to, how to create a wallet, the importance of the seed words, and those seed words you can move between different wallets. And then there's a one on my YouTube channel about AsgardX. So just how to get started and how to use that. Whatever wallet you use, it's going to be a similar price. The pricing is a little bit different between them, but it's all within the same range. And then you just go through, test with small amounts. Then you can go to THORChain or UI that will interact with THORChain, and then you can conduct your swap. The first thing would be to send your balance out of Coinbase into a self-custody wallet, whatever you want to choose, and then you can start conducting those swaps using an interface that interacts with THORChain.
Perfect. Appreciate that. Thank you guys again.
Yep, no worries. The link is in the comments, by the way, not in your DMs. All right, let's do one last question, and then we'll hop off here for today. Serge, what's up?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Oh, perfect. So this is my first Spaces where I'm actually talking to anyone. So recently I started using THORSwap. I am also borrowing, and I am a LP. So overall, love the product, and it's actually my first interaction with any type of like DEX. So that's actually pretty cool. I'll just cut it short. I had 3 questions, but I'll just cut it short. So my main concern is, and I don't even know if this is like the right place to be asking, but maybe you could answer it, is regarding like a smart contract. So I as I'm doing like borrowing, or as I'm doing like LP, I guess my main concern is how can that smart contract, the contract that takes the money out of like let's say if I have MetaMask connected, takes the money out of MetaMask, deposits into THORChain, and when I go to withdraw, it'll come back. How can that smart contract be attacked, if at all possible?
Yeah, I can probably somewhat answer this question. Maybe I don't have the full context to answer this completely on like how you can attack a smart contract, but essentially what you're doing is, so when you're lending, for example, you're giving the let's say you're lending Ether, right? Because you're using a you're asking for a smart contract example. You're giving the Ether to THORChain. So essentially, it's put into THORChain's pools. So it would just be any kind of risk that comes along with being able to attack THORChain's pools. So obviously, like there's a lot of security work that goes in and around THORChain, and like monitoring incoming transactions and making sure the state is updated correctly. It's a lot different than something like Aave or another a system that is fully smart contracts, because THORChain's a lot more complex in that it has smart contracts, but it has its own internal state. It's its own chain. So when you're lending, for example, all this state isn't just recorded on a smart contract. It's recorded in Thornode, which is like THORChain's own database, and that's really where your debt is recorded and how much collateral that you have, right? So it's really just a question of like what's the attack surface of THORChain itself, and not really the smart contract so much, because there's a lot more to THORChain than just a smart contract. So it's really just about reducing vulnerabilities that are possible within THORChain. So like THORChain has a dedicated security team that was put in place about 3 years ago, and they're top-notch team of white hats that are constantly doing security work and auditing the code base, reviewing every single PR that goes in before it goes in. So there's a big security apparatus around THORChain that's a lot more complex than just monitoring around a smart contract, because there's just a lot more architecture to THORChain than monitoring and inbound and an outbound to a smart contract. I hope that makes sense.
Right. Right. Yeah. I understand there's that protocol risk.
Yep.
But the other main concern, like what I was mentioning, was, let's say I want to withdraw my whatever I was, I deposited in as an LP, for example. Let's say I put in like $50,000 as an LP, and whenever I do decide to withdraw that, like what's what type of security is in place so that that money, when I go ahead and accept the terms and everything, will go back to my wallet essentially, and not some other wallet like mid withdrawal process.
I see. So THORChain, it will only accept a signature from your wallet. So whatever wallet deposited it. So there's two wallets associated with that. So there's your Rune address, your Thor address, and then there's your Ethereum address. If either one of those produces a valid signature to its own native chain and says, "Hey, I'm the user, I want to withdraw," it withdraws, and it can only withdraw to your own account. So if someone has your private keys, then they could withdraw it, but it would only ever go to that address. But it's not possible to say, "Hey, let me withdraw," and then withdraw to another address. But the risk is in private key compromise, and if someone else had your private key, then of course they'd be able to withdraw on your behalf and withdraw the funds back to that wallet and then move it somewhere else. But THORChain is only ever allowed to send, when an LP was withdrawing, to send those LP funds back to the exact wallet that it originated from.
Great. Yeah. That answers my question. Thanks.
Yep. No worries.
It records the addresses that does the liquidity position addition. So then that's how it does the check. That's how it knows.
Right. Yeah. So that's all part of THORChain's internal state. It knows that this is the address of the LP, and it will only ever send the funds back to that LP in any given scenario. Let's do this one last question here. Lost symbol. Hey. Lost symbol, are you there? Nope, maybe not.
Sorry, can I just ask one more question?
Yeah, go for it. Let's do this last one, and then we'll wrap it up. Go for it.
Great. So the other question I had was about the impermanent loss protection. So obviously, like I did a lot of research before going down the route of LP, and one of the things that like made me want to be an LP was because of that permanent loss protection. But I recently found out that actually that is no longer being applied, unless if I'm mistaken. But I found out through Discord and not necessarily through the docs, because then I was just wondering, like, if that is true, then maybe THORChain should probably just remove that section entirely, so future LPs don't get confused.
Yeah, it's definitely changed in the docs. I know because I just looked through this like yesterday, and I know Chris also updates the docs for these types of things. There was a change that was put in around November. There was a vote around that in which impermanent loss protection was removed completely. Although actually, I guess the change actually happened around a year ago, and then was removed for grandfathered LPs in around November. But essentially, there's no more impermanent loss protection anymore. So if there's anywhere specifically that you've seen that it's not updated, you can just send me a DM or send somebody else that's on the team a DM, and we'll make sure to get it updated. I believe everywhere that I've seen in the docs, like docs.thorchain.org, it is already updated.
Yeah, it's definitely updated, but it was more of like I guess it seemed like a fine print type of section, after reviewing the docs, or at least that's what it seemed like to me. And then so that's what I was recommending. Maybe we should just remove that section entirely, so LPs, future LPs don't get confused, like kind of how like I did at first,
There's a change in the works too. I think that got brought up by someone. There's a change in the works to have that clearly identified. So, there are parts going to be removed, and then just a big disclaimer saying it's ILP is no longer offered. I think it was like first it was grandfathered, and then it was going to be removed. So it was like all these extra things added. So it could be a bit better. And that change should be out in the next week or so on the docs.
Cool. Thanks for the questions, guys. All right, cool. Good space. If you're here, make sure you're following THORChain Weekly Live on RSS, wherever you get your podcasts. So you could just search for THORChain Weekly Live on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, and we should be there. That's where I'm uploading all these things now. So if you're here and you want to catch it and you're not here during the recording, it's always available there, and you can subscribe and make sure to rate it and rate 5 stars, and we'll see you around.
I just want to put a quick plug. I did a video a couple of days ago, introduction to THORChain for beginners. So if anyone's new to THORChain, wants to get a really high level overview about THORChain and why is it different, why is it the first of its kind, I've got a video on my YouTube channel, Grassroots Crypto, so you can check that out. There's going to be more videos coming out just to explain some of the features. So really aim for beginners to walk through from beginner through to the more advanced stuff, so people can get an appreciation of THORChain in a perhaps an easier way than reading all the docs or the code or whatever else. And if anyone wants to see any more content to understand THORChain or some of the concepts, just let me know.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. See you.
Cheers.